Hi, you're listening to When Isabel Met Aviva, a podcast about rom-coms, female-driven screenwriting, and how to break into the entertainment industry. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Aviva.
And welcome to Season 3 of the pod.
Yay!
This is
Welcome
exciting.
back, everyone. It's been since July, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But we've been recording episodes. We just haven't released them. So we've kind of been doing a new podcast strategy, right?
Yeah.
Recording all the episodes. We're going to release them. We have some really exciting guests that we're so excited to share the interviews we've kind of done over the summer and the last few months. But we're recording this one now, which I kind of feel like we should give the context too, that this is like the eve of the election. So,
oh my goodness.
Just in case we sound a little too chipper right now, it's because we don't know what's about to happen.
A lot of anxiety in the air, which means we need rom-coms.
Exactly. We need rom-coms to deal with, honestly, whatever happens.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if I should mention this, but like, I feel like my roof is really loud, right? It's raining very hard.
I think it's
in the
nice.
Seattle area. Okay, so hopefully it's not bothering anyone. I have a metal roof, so
I feel like it's probably the nice like white noise in the background.
I enjoy it.
Setting the tone.
Sometimes it wakes me up a little bit, but I just have earplugs, so it's okay. But
I can hear it a little bit, but I like it because it's making me feel like I'm, I don't know, waking up slowly in the Pacific Northwest and I'm listening to the rain. Yeah, so it's funny because I was just thinking how like, yeah, we are going into like a new election season, and it's just reminding me of when we were talking recently about like that brief stint of political rom-coms with like the president's daughter.
Yeah,
like, do we need that to come back in some way?
Maybe it could like unite us as a country. Like,
I swear, I think they did. But remember, we were like looking into it, and we were like, these movies all came out like right after 9/11. So was that some kind of weird like, let's be lighthearted about the president right now by thinking about them dating?
Yeah. I wouldn't mind more. I would love to write that job. It would be fun to like collab on that one day. I just have never been able to come up with like a log line that I love with a president-daughter theme.
Yeah, I know. I'd be kind of curious to see what that could look like in like a modern time. If anyone is feeling inspired by that challenge, I would watch it. I feel like
I would too.
I don't know.
It's so fun. And like, Red, White, and Royal Blue, we've talked about that, came out like a couple years ago. So there is demand for that genre.
Yeah, there's still
But it wasn't President's Daughter, but still same vibes.
I mean, it's also not even just the president, right? It's like, because isn't What a Girl Wants, isn't that like the UK? There's also like the like, I don't know, the British royal family and the like all the different prince and princess things that I feel like kind of still fall under that category, right? Like The Prince and Me, because he like came to America, right? And was secretly a prince.
Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I rewatched that recently.
I love that movie. I've seen it so many times. That was like peak romance for me when it came out. I was like, that's all I need. Like,
yeah.
It was so good. In the library and everything. That scene. So like, should we catch up about what's been going on since July, and then we can talk about where the season's going and just screenwriting.
Okay, I want to hear about what you've been doing, because I was reflecting when you texted me about your query strategy that you've learned, and it made me realize that I feel like we're at such different stages in writing right now, and I want you to talk about your stage, because I feel like you're in like a very helpful place for other people where it's like you've learned how to like put yourself out there, and I'm curious like what you've been doing, because it feels like you're doing it like you're really like emailing people, like you're like out there promoting.
I'm cold-cooking. I am. Yeah. So since July, I can't remember how far I was into my rom-com, but I've written like a few drafts of that now for my fellowship. It's now called Significant Mothers. And I think I like that title.
I like that title,
Hate My Mom, but it like sounded a little like that's not really what the plot is literally. So I feel like Significant Mothers is
It
more
has
of
a good ring to it. That's a good
Thank
title.
you. Yeah. So I wrote that. I still have to write another draft. Well, I guess it just forever. I'll just keep revising forever, but not forever, but I got new notes. But I decided to start querying because I haven't done that since the pandemic. And I've been thinking a lot lately that I feel like writing more Hallmark style features might get my foot in the door more. Like, I think next I need to write a Christmas rom-com that's very Hallmark but original. Like Significant Mothers, I think could definitely fit for Hallmark, but it has a little bit more of like maybe a PG-13 tone.
Okay.
But anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start querying again because I don't want to pay for these contests or like query websites anymore, like Virtual Pitch Fest. So yeah, I've been cold querying.
Are
And
you querying like
yeah,
for which script though? Or like
for
just like
Significant
yourself in general?
Mothers, I decided to just, and I do actually, a Hallmark writer who we've had on the show read it and was really sweet and said that that she thinks that if I just adapted it a little once I connect with a producer at Hallmark, that it would fit with like that tone as well. So she kind of encouraged me to try selling it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've written a bunch of cold emails and I wasn't having like a ton of success. But then I connected with a future guest that we're going to have, Isabel. I don't know how to say her last name. Drian?
Drian?
It's, yeah, we will make sure to pronounce it correctly during her episode.
When we have her on the show.
And she's great, and we're having her on the show. She's a Christmas writer, and she like teaches people how to query and write Christmas rom-coms. And anyway, she sent me this whole template for querying, and I tried it last night. And like, we'll see what happens. But I did get already one like, yes, I'll like send me your sample and let's have a phone chat. Because her
That's
approach, she can
amazing.
talk more about it in our episode, is to ask people to chat for like 10 minutes, which is kind of scary as like a writer.
Yeah.
That's her thing. And maybe that's like a different approach that might work. I think it might. So yeah. So my script is going to be in at least 2 new hands, this new script, because for my first round of querying, I had 1 yes, but I sent a lot of emails, and then I just sent a batch of 10 and I've gotten 1 yes so far. So we will see. Yeah.
Okay. So here's my question for you that I feel like and maybe other people feel this way too about their own writing, but I'm kind of curious because you said that you still need to do another draft of the script, but you're querying it. So like, does it feel like it's like your draft is at a good enough place that like you feel confident in sending it out? But like, what happens then if you do a new draft and then like?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I feel like the things I have to change aren't that big. And another, I've been like connecting with a lot of writers lately since we've been on hiatus. And another writer who sold a script recently, who I zoomed with her, and shout out to her. I don't want to say who yet, but because I don't think she's like,
leave us with some mystery.
Yeah. We'll bring her on the show one day. But anyway, she encouraged me, she was like, you could keep rewriting forever, or you could like, if you feel like it's polished enough, you know, the producers are going to end up changing it so much anyway. And I kind of agreed with her. I did agree. I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I shouldn't spend more weeks like editing something that's already going to be chopped up a lot more. That's my strategy.
Okay.
I don't want to sound like a total amateur and be like, needs edits, but I just sent it out. But yeah, hopefully it's okay. It's very polished as it is. It's just like there's certain things that still could be changed.
Okay. And so do you feel like before you feel confident to send something out in a query, do you have other people read it? Do you just have like one other person read it? Or like, I'm kind of curious to hear like your thoughts on like when you feel like something is ready to send.
Great question. And we should ask our guests this as well. Like, when is something ready? Should you write like 100 drafts?
I feel like that's what I struggle with the most. That's why I'm like, my problem is definitely I'm always in my head like, oh, I could do better. Or like I let one person read it and they give feedback and then I feel like I have to change, you know, the whole story or something. And it's like, when like, who do you listen to? Do you listen to the people giving you feedback? Do
Yeah.
you listen to yourself? Like,
That's a great question. Well, I think we should always probably, well, I know we should wait to send something out until we've gotten feedback for sure.
yeah,
Because sometimes when you finish your first draft, like you're like, oh, it's done. And it's like obviously not done. Yeah, I think I kind of like even revise as I write. So it's like hard to know what number draft I'm on at this point.
yeah,
Um, I'd say at least one round of like feedback from people and then like implementing their notes. That's at least what I did.
okay,
Um, but I'm just hoping, like, I think the concept is strong enough that if a producer saw it, they'd be like, okay, this has enough potential. We're going to change it anyway. Because from my understanding, they all
right,
change
yeah.
so much anyway. Um, yeah, that's a great question. Because that could hold you back from ever querying.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's probably where a lot of writers get stuck, right? Is like we're just constantly feeling like it's not ready, or like it's not good enough. But I really like what you just said, that it feels like, any script isn't going to like be made probably like exactly like word for word, like
Yeah.
as you've written it, like even when it gets like bought or like shopped around, right? It's going to like adapt for like whatever audience or whatever producers. So I don't think we have to like let go of feeling like this is exactly what the movie's going to be. Like every single scene
True.
and piece of dialogue is going to be exactly this. It's like it's going to change in some way no matter what. But like, yeah, as long as like the story is strong enough, like your writing is strong enough, right? And it's like a clean, good script. I feel like,
Yeah. Yeah, clean
yeah.
for sure. Like, obviously, like, minimal typos and, like, it should look really polished at
Hmm.
least. Um, although you always I feel like no matter how many times I think we've talked about this before, how many times you revise something, there's always, like, some weird typo because 'cause you've just seen it so
Yeah.
many
I
times, and I'm like, "How
know.
did this
How does this
happen?"
happen?
Because I am a perfectionist about that kind of thing, but there's always, like, one little thing.
Mhm.
But other than that, yeah. So I've just been writing, querying, focusing on the podcast again with you, which has been fun. And yeah, my fellowship's about to end. So I was part of the Northwest Screenwriters Guild Fellowship, and that's like what I wrote Significant Mothers through that, and we're about to have a
Mm.
table read next
Oh, so
weekend.
fun.
Yeah, just 10 minutes of each of ours, so like it won't be a full thing, but they're like actors and stuff, so I'm excited to see that. But yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting other updates, but yeah, that's been my main focus. So yeah,
Yeah.
what about
Did being in the fellowship help? Like, do you feel like that helped you like get this draft done? And like,
yeah.
it seems like that was like the focus of it, right? Was to write that script.
It was basically, yeah, like I wasn't entirely sure what the fellowship would entail, but yeah, it's mostly just been like developing a project from the beginning, like as a group, like individually, but like, giving each other or one another feedback along the way. And yeah, so it's been motivating. I don't know if I would have like written as quick. Not that it was like, I mean, it was kind of, it was like an 8-month process, but I'm glad I like external deadlines, so that was really
Yeah.
cool. But yeah, and I think I'll reapply, so we'll see. Just because I think then it would just be nice to know that, oh, I'll write one more script at least this next year.
Hmm.
But yeah, what have you been up to since July writing wise?
Oh my gosh. I have like not done any personal writing, and I think that's been like really I've really been struggling with that. And I
Yeah.
think like we've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm always so like afraid to say anything on this podcast. And I'm like, I don't know why, because like I don't think that they listen to it, or that like
No.
anything I say is like a really bad or negative thing. But I think
Yeah.
I'll word it in terms that could maybe be like useful to other writers who are like writing on spec, right? And it's like
Mhm.
you're writing somebody else's idea, and so it's not like it's not necessarily like a story I would write myself, I mean, I do like believe in the story and the concept of it, but I think something I've been noticing is just like when you're writing on spec, you kind of do reach a point where you're just like, it feels like it's been really hard for me to be creative lately. And then when I do get that burst of creativity, then I'm like channeling it into like something I don't necessarily like care that much for, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And so I've just been really struggling with that. And I think too, I don't know, maybe if it's just like the experience I'm having with the people I'm working with, where I feel like uh I'm give I'm just like being like pulled in all these different directions like every time we discuss the draft, and I just keep coming back to it and just being like they keep saying like different things every time, and then I feel like then they're like looking at me like, why don't you have this ready yet? And I'm just like it's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to our interview with like the lawyer coming up, and just like I don't
Yeah.
know, I think it's we have an interview that we're going to share later that I actually, even though it was like a lot of it was like a very different like tone, right, than our podcast,
Yeah.
because I feel like it was like a lot of like strong opinion, but honestly that was really rejuvenating for me to hear, because I think that's a lot of what I've been feeling, and I bet a lot of other like especially like women writers are feeling, is just like this frustration of like, I want to be creative, I want to write the stories I want to write, but I feel like I have to do these other projects to like get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
But it's like then but at like what expense, right? Like it's like I started this year writing 2 personal projects that I was really excited about, that were like I felt like unique different stories that
Mhm.
are true to me, and I haven't even like looked at those scripts in the last like what 6 months or so.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about them, and I've been jotting down ideas, and like I've still been thinking about them a lot, but I haven't even opened like final draft on those to work on them, because anytime I have had to write, I've been putting towards a spec project, which I'm just kind of like,
Mhm.
I don't know. So I've definitely been I've been struggling a lot, but I've also been learning a lot. So at the same time, it's kind of been helpful, I guess, for me, where I feel like, you know, where I feel like we're at different stages in our writing career. It feels like for me, I'm still finding my voice, and I'm still
Mhm.
figuring out like what do I want to write, and like my confidence in my like writing, you know. But I definitely
Yeah.
feel like it's been a good like I don't know, quick dive into the like treacherous waters, I would say, of the industry. And I feel like
Yeah.
I've come out of it being like, dang, yeah, like it's not fun out there. And like I do feel like what everyone has said and told me about the industry is true. But I definitely feel like better about myself now, like going into it, because I feel like I've let go of like, I don't know, the fear that I have to do
Mhm.
everything the way that everyone has always done things,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah, that all makes sense. Yeah, it really sounds like, yeah, like no matter, I'll talk vaguely, but like no matter what happens, like you had that experience.
Mhm.
And that's like kind of the equivalent of, like an internship. You
Yeah,
learn
it does.
how
I do.
to,
I feel like I've been an intern, or like I've been in
yeah,
grad school for the last 2 years. So I'm looking at it, I'm framing it that way in my mind, so that I don't feel like I don't feel like I've wasted any time. It doesn't feel like that.
no.
It's more just like the realization that I don't know, I feel like that's like the juggle we'll always have as writers. It's like it's a great opportunity with like, you know,
Mhm.
people who know people, and it could lead to other things, but then you kind of have to take that moment to be like, oh, but do I want to sacrifice my time to write something that I wouldn't write myself, you know, and like to write a
Mhm.
story and work on a story that isn't like necessarily my story. um
Yeah, yeah. And then at the same time, it's like, for me, I just really want my first credit, and then I feel like we
mhm.
have more freedom and power maybe. So it's like
Yeah.
when yeah, yeah, no, I hear you though, and like, yeah, no matter what happens, I think it's such like a cool accomplishment for sure, but I know we both just like I was looking at, the names of our episodes because I put them all on IMDb, guys, so now it's
Oh
on
yeah, I know. I
IMDb.
need to get an IMDb
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, I have but, I love having an IMDb Pro account. It's kind of expensive, but I do think it really does help because that's like a cold querying tip is like that's where you can find a lot of emails that wouldn't be listed just on the regular
Hmm.
IMDb. Where was I going with this? But yeah, oh yeah, like we made an episode like that our goal was to like sell a script this year, and like that's always my goal.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet, and I get like frustrated, but I think like what you're saying is like, yeah, like you really like we have like learned a lot and like developed as writers, even if we haven't reached our like
Yeah.
goal that we were talking about.
As long as we're learning things, like nothing, like none of it is like a waste of time, or, like I don't view it that way. It's like, it really just feels like an internship or being in school where we're
Yeah.
just learning how to like better ourselves. So then like one day we look back on this and we're like, wow, like, I like that all led to this, or like that gave me the like knowledge or, the
Yeah.
courage to do things. And I do feel like, um, I don't know. I keep coming back to just like thinking about the stories that I want to tell, and like the stories that are like, I feel like it's so much easier for me to write too when I actually like am invested in the story, and like
Yeah.
it's like meaningful to me. So maybe that's the difference, is like um you can tell, right, when it's like not working, if like you don't feel interested in what you're writing.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Yeah, you have to really care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be so tough to take on a writing assignment. Like, I know writers do that where they like take one on that's like completely different than their preferences. So that can be hard.
Yeah, and I think I think too, like, the thing I keep I don't know, like, in my last, like, chat with them where I kinda just, like, leveled with them, where for me, it's like I've also just been really busy this year. I've been
Yeah.
traveling a lot. I had a lot of friends and family come visit me, and then I work a full-time job, and so I kind of for me, it's like I have to prioritize my job because I have to be able to pay my bills and stuff, and
Yeah.
so, I think that's where I was like, maybe things would feel different if I didn't feel like I was like my only free time that I have had in the last few months, I've had to spend forcing myself to write something that I don't necessarily enjoy. But maybe that would be different. Not that I feel like it's like, oh, I have to be paid to do this. It's more
Mhm.
like, it would just feel different if if it was structured differently. Like if I was like, being paid, but then I had a deadline that I had to
Yeah.
meet, and like, I don't know, I feel like that if there was more structure, maybe that would lead to like, um, more productivity. But that's where I'm like, I do like the idea of us challenging what I feel like has been the norm, right, in Hollywood, to just be like, oh, writers just write these things on spec for free with the promise of like making a ton of money when it sells. But it's like, I don't know. I think it's helpful to tell other people who don't work in our industry like what we're doing sometimes, because that was definitely a really helpful moment of reality for me, was like having somebody like explaining to somebody the concept of like writing on spec, and like just seeing their immediate reaction to just be like, so you're working for free, and you're having all this stress and like anxiety about like turning something in for free that you're not being
So
paid, and
crazy.
there's no promise of it actually like ever paying you, and and it's causing you this much stress. And I was like, wow, yeah, when you put it that way.
Yeah, but I so get why you're doing it too. So yeah, like it sounds crazy when we say it out loud, but yeah. Like we
Right,
also
but then it's like,
really
but it's my
want that credit.
dream, like it could lead to all these possibilities.
100%. So it's like, yeah, it's hard to know how much to hustle and like
Hmm.
sacrifice versus like, yeah, like self-care and also like maybe demanding better treatment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Um I guess when I hear this topic, like I think of like like I think as writers, we're at the bottom of the hierarchy and
Hmm.
we're just told to like that we're like disposable kind of. So
Which is so crazy to me when the more I start to think about this, and like, and I have so many questions for the lawyer when we talk to
yeah,
her, but
yeah.
it just makes me think like it is so sad to me how much writers kind of get like pushed at the bottom of the barrel, when it's like literally these ideas don't exist without
I
the like
know.
creators. And it's just like weird when you think about it, that it's like the shouldn't I don't know, I think about this all the time when I watch a movie or something, and I don't see the writer's name even mentioned at the beginning, or like it's not like the first one, and it's like, wait, this whole concept, this whole idea, like the words, like everything we're seeing, like that came from a writer's mind. Like, how are they not more important?
I know. I know. It's really bizarre. I hope that changes one day. And then it just
Hmm.
makes me think, we have an interview coming out with like an independent filmmaker who I know, and like, her whole like shtick is that, we should make our own stuff. And I do want to do that too. But then it's like,
Yeah.
you have a full-time job. I'm on a healing journey still that I don't think like I could handle the time commitment that like,
Right.
especially when you're filming, like I would have to, someone else would have to do that for him. Like, I just think 14-hour day, well, that's like not sustainable for anyone, but I just
Yeah.
like physically would have a hard time doing that. And, um, yeah, and obviously, and we would need money to make these
Right.
things.
Yeah. I know. It's like, yeah, it's,
But you can fundraise. There are ways, and I would love to produce and like, who knows, maybe even direct one day, but I don't know like when that should happen, and I don't know if like I'm there yet. But I love
yeah.
the idea of like having a production company. So
Yeah. And I think too, that's like what has been inspiring me a lot lately, especially like just seeing more people like pursuing their like what they want to write about and,
yeah.
just making their films happen, even if it just means going and shooting it themselves. I'm finding a lot of more inspiration leaning into that more now, just to like remind ourselves that like this like we can make this all happen however we want to. Like at the end of the day, we are
Yeah.
artists, like we're creators, and like that we don't follow the like structure and form of like everything else, because like that's why we are even like pursuing this, right? So
Yeah.
that is, I guess, the little like glimmer of hope I have in my mind for all of this, that I'm like, um this is just how we've always been, right? We've always wanted to be that like person who's chasing this like big dream, but like
Yeah.
we can get there and we can like change the way that that happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I feel motivated by all the other like women, especially that I've been seeing, just like writing and getting their stories out there. And I don't know, I think I'm feeling really excited to just finish this project I've been working on, wrap it up, let whatever happens with it happen.
Yeah.
But I'm really craving like getting back into my own writing in my own mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's all we can control, is
Yeah, right.
like output, our own output. I mean, there are circumstances, like working and things like that, but that's all we can keep doing is just writing. And then I really think the podcast, like I really think it's just such a great opportunity to like continually will be networking with women who we
Hmm.
admire, and also just to be like inspired by them and see what they're doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think all we can control is like networking, writing, and then like querying, I guess, and maybe making our own stuff if we get
Yeah.
there.
This is going to be hopefully the year of woman. I'm
Yeah.
very hopeful for this upcoming election, but
Oh yeah. We'll
it does
see.
feel like, I don't know, the year of women putting their stories out there and
Mhm,
women
definitely.
making changes and saying no to like how things have always been done before.
Mhm, mhm. For sure, for sure. I was just thinking of a Kamala rom-com, but I was like, I don't have an idea for that. Anyway, I was just thinking, like, what would
Yeah.
that be? But,
The
yeah,
president's daughter.
yeah.
The female president's son. Oh, there we
Ooh.
go.
That'd be so fun. Um, yeah. And then, yeah, as for the podcast, like, yeah, like we've gotten some really exciting yeses
Yeah.
lately. So that's been like hopeful, I
A
feel
lot
like,
of
to
fun
just,
interviews to release.
yeah, yeah. I feel like sometimes, like, this is a passion project and I hope it turns into something bigger, but like, I love
Yeah.
it no matter what happens. But like, sometimes I like feel a little sad about like, how many viewers we have, like when I'm trying to like reach out to bigger people.
Yeah.
But then that doesn't matter. Maybe
I
one
mean,
day,
when you
but
like sent me the thing with like the IMDb, I was like, this does look really cool when like you see it all like laid out like that. And I think
right?
ultimately it is like we're just like in the beginning stages of it, right? And I'm sure someday we'll look back
Yeah.
on this and be like, wow, like remember when we were like this was so small, or like we just like didn't know what was going to
Yeah,
happen. And I think too, if
totally.
anything, it's just really nice to have a collection of like all these different women's stories and
Mhm.
um, you know, advice and feedback somewhere. And like I think that to me is also like I just hope that other like people find it helpful to like be able to
Yeah.
go somewhere and find like advice for navigating your career. And
Mhm.
even if you're not a screenwriter, I think there is something too, right, to like just having stories from women working in film and trying to break
Yeah.
into the industry. So I think it's just like a cool little project we've got starting, but I do believe it'll become something bigger in the future.
Me too. We have big dreams. Like, I think we will have meetups one day. Who knows? I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I visualized all sorts of things. But yeah, at this point, just, I mean, yeah, some of our guests I'm excited for everyone we're interviewing this season, but like some like dream guests. So, and ones that I feel like we would have thought wouldn't happen when we like
Yeah.
first started. And it's only been like a year.
I know,
So,
yeah. That's what I keep reminding myself. I'm like, we've really only been doing this for like a year or so, and like I'm
literally, yeah,
impressed with how
October.
much we've done just in that time without knowing anything, knowing how to do this. So
I thought, and just even the
I'm proud of
idea of
us.
like filming ourselves. Yeah, me too. Like, yeah, like I've talked about this before. Like, it felt like too overwhelming to me for a long time. Now I'm
Hmm.
like, this is pretty easy. I mean, it can
I
be like
know,
kind of
yeah.
scary, but so yeah, more episodes coming out soon. And my dad was like, so is there any like rhyme or reason like what constitutes a season? And I was like, after we have 10
Yeah.
episodes. It's not really by like a time period or anything.
Yeah, we're just kind of going on how we feel. It does
Yeah.
feel like we've entered a new season. I will definitely say that. I'm definitely in a new season of just like
Yeah.
my entire life is like different
Mhm.
feeling from the start of the year,
Yeah.
but in a really good way. And I feel really
Yay.
like I don't know, just excited about I'm really just excited about all the stuff I want to start writing and working
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
in the
that's so
next like
good.
year.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say I have had some good like networking meetings like through like email and Zoom recently that I got some advice out of for like the state of the industry. I think we wanted to like
Yeah.
discuss that a little bit because
Yeah.
from at least I think we both have been feeling and hearing the same things, right? That it's just like not a good time for like anything. Like nobody's really buying anything. Nobody's even really talking or meeting. Like it feels really like scary to a lot of people who like work in the industry or have been working. They
Yeah.
still feel that. But I did have a meeting with a guy that is like a previous agent, producer kind of person. But he was like basically saying that then for the next 6 months, like everyone should just focus on writing because like
Mhm.
people aren't going to be like, especially going into the holiday season now, it's like his advice was just like, just hunker down and just write and just like write as much as you can, what you want, like get things into a really good place so that like, middle of like the beginning of next year, you have like a bunch of solid stuff to like put out there and like
Yeah.
because his perspective is that people are going to be more ready and like willing to like talk and
Mhm.
like read things and new things then but then I hear like stories from you where like you're just sending cold query emails and getting
Yeah.
responses, so then I'm like, you know
I
what, there really is
know.
no
I
perfect
know.
way to do any of this.
Yeah. As I said at the beginning of this episode, like I do think Hallmark style producers are just more open to responding to like unknown people because I think
Yeah,
they have such a need for content,
I was just
because
gonna
they're
say they
making,
definitely have like they know what they're making, they know what they're looking for.
yeah.
They're doing fine. I feel like people always want those movies, like
I know. It's honestly such like a smart, yeah, like I really honestly, as we've interviewed more like Hallmark lifetime writers and just like as I've watched more, I like respect the Christmas world a lot more than not that I like
yeah.
didn't before, but I think it's like honestly so inspiring and like beautiful that these writers are getting regular work in the rom-com. And sometimes I used to kind of judge some of those movies, but it's like people want them.
Yeah.
So,
And honestly, they're good. Like
yeah,
I am already feeling the excitement to like watch some of these movies.
yeah,
Like it is something that I think people just go to for like wanting to like I mean, it kind of just reminds me of why I think Emily in Paris does so well, right? It is a little bit
yeah.
of that escapist, like, especially during this time where with the election, it's like, I don't want to watch some like intense documentary, some like intense thriller, like some mind boggling, like Christopher Nolan movie. Like, even though I love that, it's like, I just want to
Totally.
watch Hot Frosty, which
I want to
is
see
a
Hot
real
Frosty
movie if
too.
you
So
have seen the trailer for it.
I'm really excited about those. Yeah, no, I this year I think I'm gonna watch so many. Um, yeah, same. Yeah. I just think that's what people want right now. And even like, yeah, the music in those movies are just so soothing. Like I was watching one, I was already watching Christmas ones and
it
for
just makes
research,
us
but
happy when we all just want to be happy
exactly.
and joyful,
Yeah. And I will say this is not a rom-com, but there was this show that I binged since we last recorded called The Way Home, and it was made by Hallmark. So good. It was actually like, some Hallmark plots are a little like, you know what's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
like it's not like gripping, but like this show still Hallmark vibes, but like I was addicted and I did not know what was gonna happen, and it was almost like Outlander, but like more G-rated. So
Okay.
I really recommend The Way
Interesting.
Home. It was
Yeah.
lovely. I like cried multiple times.
Speaking of too, we both have watched Nobody Wants This,
Yes,
right? Kind of like a
yes.
rom-com TV show. And I will say that part of what I love about that is like healthy. It's like a healthy relationship, and like you're
Yeah.
kind of like it's got a little bit of drama and stuff, but I just love that it's like we're actually watching a healthy relationship play out instead of like some toxic thing where like the guy is really mean, or like I don't know, it just feels really refreshing to just see something positive.
I agree. That was a really fun show. Everyone, we would love to interview someone from that show. So if anyone has any connections, please let us know. We've tried.
Mhm.
I would love to interview like the creator. But yeah, I really did enjoy that show. And I'm excited that there'll be a season 2. It wasn't perfect. Like I will say, we can get more into this in another episode. Like I didn't like that like every female Jewish character except like one was like insane.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. So like, your perspective on this whole
It was
show.
like, some of this rings true. Like there are a lot of like, well, I don't want to use the word neurotic, but like there is some like some of that vibe was partially true with some
Mhm.
women, but
You're
it
like, not
felt like,
every single one
yeah, it
needs to
felt
be like that.
I was like, no, we're not all like insane. So I will say that I hope season 2 they'll like have one like normal Jewish woman who's just like a chill normal person and not like just unhinged and like like that wife character, I'm forgetting everyone's name, but like the wife of the brother
Oh
character was just
yeah.
like,
I love her.
she was so fun, but I was like, please, like I hope everyone doesn't think now that like every Jewish woman is like
It's
this.
like
We're
this,
just
yeah.
like always like just Jewish rep is like like kind of like a touchy subject just because like we don't have a ton of it that is comedic. Usually it's like like about our trauma, so like I'm just always like very like a little on edge about how we're portrayed.
Yeah.
But it was a good show overall and I recommend it, so
I feel like you just made me realize I would think that your holiday movie that you wrote would be like a good time and market for it, because there has been a lot more like Jewish content
yeah,
lately.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that to happen. The script, like I think I can say this, it's not, I'm being very vague, but like the script that I wrote for Karen, it has been in like a cool person's hands, but we won't hear back till like January. So like I
Okay.
hope that sells. And that was a holiday rom-com, but
Yeah.
we'll see. And then I have a Hanukkah rom-com as well that I just wrote for myself that I would love to sell, but it's about birth control. And I think that's what turns people off. So I keep thinking, you know what? I should like change it and make it more Hallmark and have like it's about a birth control shortage. So like this woman's birth control, she can't take it anymore and she loses attraction to her fiance. And it's
Interesting.
like, I think it's like a fun idea, but I was thinking like she could just have a shortage of like gummy vitamins and like the story would be similar.
Okay.
But
Yeah, maybe tone down the I mean, I
yeah,
like it. I'm here for that. Like I don't know. I'm very much in a phase of like I want everyone to just pursue their own original ideas, and like let's shake some things up, you know?
I agree. Maybe I shouldn't change it, but I don't know if Hallmark would ever feature something about birth control. Not that there's anything wrong with birth
Yeah.
control, but like,
How is Hallmark with like LGBTQ stories? I feel
yeah,
like have they started to tap into that yet? I don't like really
they have.
follow the like Hallmark trends, but maybe I'll
They
write them a gay rom-com for the
you could.
holidays.
They have last year. I can't remember what it was called, but there was the first gay rom com made by Hallmark, and they're definitely like side characters that are gay and lesbian for sure
Was
that I
Single
think
All
it
the
was,
Way a Hallmark movie? Because I actually really liked that movie,
oh,
and
was
that
that
was with
Hulu?
maybe it was Hulu. It was with Jennifer. No, Happiest Season was Hulu. That was the one with
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart, and then there was Single All the Way, which was it felt like a like
What
not
was
rom,
that
it felt
again?
like a Hallmark type of movie with Jennifer Coolidge, and it was about like a guy going back to his hometown,
Oh,
and then he like
did I
meets
see
another
it?
guy, and they kind of like go on some
That
date. I don't know, it was really good.
Netflix?
Maybe
But anyway, yeah,
it was
Lifetime
Netflix.
and Hallmark definitely are they're stepping into the LGBTQ space for sure. Not all the time, but you could definitely write that and they would be down.
Yeah,
So
maybe I have like that. I have like a thriller that's like about like bisexuality. I don't know if they'd be
Ooh.
ready for that, but I'll think of
Maybe
something more
not. Yeah.
lighthearted.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to write a Christmas rom-com soon. I just don't have like a full log line yet. And that,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
honestly, I feel
trying
like
to
that's a
figure out.
good. That sounds like a fun thing. Actually, you're making me want to just like maybe instead like maybe that's what I'm going to do as soon as I finish this script is like just work on a holiday movie like
I
during the
think
holiday cheer time
I
because
feel
that
that
sounds
way.
fun.
I have like half it, like I have like a third of an idea that I'm hoping to like that'll turn into like a full idea. Because I do think, I mean, yeah, we'll talk more about this in the Christmas. Like we're interviewing someone who sold Christmas movies and has advice for us. I do think that is a way to break in and get regular
Mhm.
work. Not that it's easy to break in anyway, but I just feel like intuitively that's the way we should go if we want to write
Yeah.
rom-coms and get them made.
Yeah, honestly, and I do love those movies. That now you're making me want to like I just want to like write the movie I want to see that like I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen yet of like I don't know. I want to see two like women enjoying the holiday season together.
That would be really fun. Do it. Do it. I think you could, yeah, write a great script. Um and I used to like resent kind of the parameters of some of these movies, but like I do think like it's not that hard really to write like PG-13 versus like G.
Mhm.
I feel like you just have to like dial down some of your humor kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we should write Christmas rom-coms at the same time. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
let's work on some Christmas rom-coms. That sounds fun. That'll be
Yeah.
my Christmas present to you.
Yeah, do it. That'd
A
be so
Christmas
fun.
rom-com to read.
I would love that.
Well, we have a lot of really exciting interviews that we can't wait to share with you all soon. So we will be hopefully releasing an episode like every week now through like
Yeah.
I feel like we have enough interviews to go through like the end of the year and like into January. So
Yeah, we
excited.
have a lot of content. It's gonna be so exciting. You guys are gonna like freak out, but when we see a few of our guests, I think you're gonna be really excited.
I know. I'm really excited. I
I'm
can't wait to
really
share.
excited. And yeah, and as usual, if you have friends who would be interested in our podcast, like please send them the link. Like please just spread the word. Write us a review if you have time. Like it really makes us look more legit the
Yeah.
more, reviews we have and things like that. So
And thank you
yeah,
all for
so
listening.
thank you so much. And we appreciate like the listeners who've reached out to us. Like
Mhm.
it means like a lot. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you guys help us stay positive and excited about all of this. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you all.
Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you really soon.
Bye.
Bye everyone. This has been an episode of When Isabel Met Aviva. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. You can follow us on Instagram at When Isabel Met Aviva and on Twitter/X at Isabel Met Aviva. And all our links to Instagram and Twitter for ourselves will be in the show notes. And yeah, we'd love to connect. So just like reach out if you want advice or you have anything to share with us. Oops, I just hit the microphone.
That's it.
We
Or if you
would,
have ideas for people to interview or anything like that you like want to hear about or see on our
yeah,
podcast, feel free to let us know.
we'll see you very soon. And don't forget to write and watch as many rom-coms as possible.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.